My wife got drunk at a company event and told her coworkers, "He's such a pathetic doormat that I could sleep with someone right in front of him, and he'd apologize for being in the way." I didn't say anything. And the next day, I did this. I'm Jake, 36. And for over a decade, I've run my own plumbing business in the American Midwest. It's not a glamorous job full of expensive cocktails, but it's an honest trade that pays the bills and leaves room for growth. I started with almost nothing, a second-hand truck and the tools my father left me when he died of a heart attack at 25. He was a factory worker for 35 years, and my mother cleaned houses for wealthy families. Thanks to their efforts, I was able to go to technical school, and after my father's death, I vowed to fully dedicate myself to what they prepared me for. With the insurance policy money and the inherited tools, I set up my business. The first few years were grueling. I ate ramen every day, worked 14-hour shifts, and slept on a mattress on the floor of a studio that smelled of cat. But my determination pushed me. I offered lower quotes than competitors. I expected my work to speak for itself, and little by little, word of mouth brought me regular clients. At 29, I hired my first employee, which allowed me to buy a modest 4-bedroom ranch house in a quiet neighborhood with popcorn ceilings and a kitchen desperately needing renovation. Every weekend and some nights, I worked on improving it. I installed new bathroom fixtures, changed kitchen countertops, removed the carpet, and put in hardwood floors in the main areas. Financially, everything was going well. About $142,000 in the company account and $55,000 in personal savings. I drive a 2015 Ford F-150 that I paid for in cash, and I have no debt except the mortgage. I still keep a manual ledger along with QuickBooks, just as my father taught me. I watch every penny with discipline. My love life was never my strong suit. My previous relationships withered because I spent 70 hours a week immersed in the business. Some partners criticized my lack of spontaneity and my dedication to work. Then, 3 years ago, I met Amber at my friend Dave's house. She was visiting for the weekend, had studied digital marketing, and worked as an account executive, earning about $85,000 plus bonuses. Always impeccable, designer clothes, perfect makeup, nails, hair, frankly far above my level. That first encounter was surprising. Amber asked about growth strategies and market positioning. She used marketing terms that made my modest shop sound like a top-tier company. We exchanged numbers, and to my delight, she texted me the next day. Our first date was at a country restaurant where I spent $200, but her enthusiasm when talking about her professional goals made it worth every cent. I had more fun than ever. She was ambitious, funny, and valued that I had my own business. 2 months into dating, Amber told me that her relationship with her roommate Tiffany's boyfriend had become tense, and she needed a roof over her head while she sorted things out. Without hesitation, I offered her a room in my house. A week later, the guy permanently left, and we agreed Amber would pay me $800 a month, a steal compared to what renting a house like mine would cost. But I was in love and everything seemed logical. The first red flag went unnoticed. In the 3rd month, she stopped paying rent with excuses that sounded urgent. An unexpected expense, a work trip, car transmission problems. I never saw receipts, but I wanted to believe her. The second alert came when she redecorated without consulting me. She bought a $300 mirror and $200 cushions, arguing the house should look cozy for her friends. When I asked about the expenses, she made me feel insignificant. "Jake, don't you want our home to impress when your friends come over?" The third warning was the constant comparison. Her ex, Julian, had taken her to the Cayman Islands for her birthday. Her friend Melanie's husband bought her a Lexus just because. Didn't I think it was time to upgrade my F-150 for something more executive? Always subtle, always making it clear that I wasn't good enough. Still, I clung to the good things, her affection, our intimacy, but even that depended on her mood. 6 weeks ago, she attended her company's annual gala at the Hyatt downtown. It was a high-level corporate event with executives from the main headquarters. She spent weeks nervous about her look. I invested $600 in her dress and another $250 on hair and makeup, all charged to my card. I didn't protest. I knew it was important for her career. When I asked if she needed me as her date, she laughed. It'll all be business talk. You'd be bored. The day of the event, I finished a key quote for a big medical building contract and drove straight to the hotel. I arrived around 11:45 p.m. I texted her and she replied that she was still saying goodbyes. I settled into a leather armchair overlooking the elevators and opened a PDF on my phone. Then I recognized her unmistakable laugh. It was Amber on the mezzanine balcony, surrounded by 5 coworkers looking down. "Has your plumber arrived yet?" asked a guy in a blue suit with a tone of smugness that made my skin crawl. "He looks like a trained puppy waiting for orders," the group roared with laughter, and a blonde woman, Kelly, added, "That house would be perfect for entertaining if it didn't smell like Home Depot." Amber snickered with pleasure at their comments and finished the thought. "One more year with this faithful landlord, and I might get him to add me to the deed. After that, who knows?" More raucous laughter. The guy in the suit, whom I learned they called Chad, as if more proof were needed, put his arm around her waist in a gesture that went far beyond mere friendship. "He must be useful for something," Chad quipped. "No, Chad," I thought. "Certainly not for bed." Amber smiled smugly. "He's so obsessed with me that I could be with someone else right in front of him, and he'd end up apologizing for not being man enough to satisfy me." It felt like a punch to the gut. After almost 3 years together, I realized I had been living a complete lie. The blonde raised her glass and toasted Chad, to the men with money who don't even know what they're worth. They clinked glasses, the ice rattling against the crystal. "That house isn't even that nice, but you should see how he tracks every penny in that tiny notebook, like it's 1950. Pathetic." That notebook was the foundation that took my company from 0 to 12 employees and a fleet of trucks. Thanks to that pathetic notebook, I could afford the house she lived so comfortably in. While I provided exactly nothing, they continued mocking me. "Do you have anything that isn't from Walmart?" they muttered to my caveman friends. My naive belief that Amber truly loved me left me paralyzed, phone in hand. One part of me screamed to go in and confront them all. Another felt hollow. Then Chad dropped the line that finally made me react. "When are you going to let me see that famous house? Tonight, babe?" Amber laughed. "Not today, but soon. Maybe this weekend when Jake's at that Springfield job. That's when I knew it was my cue to leave. I didn't make a scene. I'm not dramatic. I sent a message. Change of plans. Find other transportation." And I blocked her number. I crossed the parking lot to my truck and stayed there for 10 minutes, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. When I caught my breath, I headed home. On the way, I called my old friend Ryan, who is now a real estate lawyer. He answered on the 4th ring. "Jake, what's up?" "I need legal advice about Amber. Can you talk?" I told him everything as objectively as possible. After a long silence, he explained. "Amber has established residency there. Even though there's no contract or her name on anything, living there for more than a year with your permission grants her rights. You must formally give her 30 days' notice to vacate the property. Document everything. Save emails, take photos, record conversations. Minnesota allows one-party consent recording. Do not touch her things or change the locks until the notice expires. Otherwise, you could get into trouble." "I have to put up with her for another month?" I asked. "Yes, unless you leave, but I advise against that. Put up cameras, keep a record of every interaction, and don't do anything that could be interpreted as coercion or retaliation," he concluded. I spent the next 2 hours drafting the eviction notice and designing a plan. I printed my bank statements showing all the expenses I covered for Amber. I took inventory of everything that was mine before she moved in and photographed every corner of the house to document it. Around 1:30 a.m., I heard an Uber arrive. Amber stumbled in, makeup smudged and still in party mode. "Why did you leave, Jakesy?" I asked Chad to step aside, and without looking at her, I handed her the notice. "I heard your conversation on the mezzanine. You have 30 days to find another place to live. This is your formal notice under Minnesota law." Her expression cycled through confusion, panic, anger, and ended in feigned tears. Sweetie, it was a joke. I wouldn't really say those things, she pleaded. There's no negotiation, I clarified. You'll sleep in the guest room. Tomorrow I'm installing a new lock. Take what you need now. The rest can be retrieved during the 30-day period. She tried to seduce me, then threatened me. This is my house too. I'll say you hit me. I'll sink your online reputation. I know people willing to destroy you. I walked away. I locked myself in the guest room and listened to her screams and pounding for over an hour until she gave up. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of the bed wondering how I could have been so blind. The next morning, Saturday, I woke up early. I was on my feet by 5 a.m. And at 5:30 a.m., I headed to Home Depot right as they opened. I bought a heavy-duty lock for the guest room, another for my home office, several indoor and outdoor security cameras, plastic storage boxes, and packing tape. Then I called my old friend Leo, the owner of a security company, to whom I owed a favor for fixing a plumbing emergency last Christmas. I need help with a delicate matter, I explained. Leo arrived at 8 a.m. with his crew and his assistant, Tony. While they installed cameras in the living room, kitchen, hallway, basement, garage, and all entrances, I told the story. I asked them to set up cloud backups to prevent Amber from deleting the recordings. I always smelled something was off, Leo admitted. Remember when you accidentally spilled wine on Sarah at your high school reunion? There were certainly dozens of red flags. They also installed commercial-grade electronic key code locks on the guest room and my office, impossible to force. Should I change the locks on the rest of the house now? Leo asked. Not yet, I replied. It could be contestable during the notice period. We'll do it when she leaves. By noon, we had transformed the house into a guarded fortress. Leo gave me access to an app so I could control everything on my phone, and we tested every camera. Thanks, man. Send me the bill, I said. Forget it, he replied. Buy me a beer. At noon, Amber woke up and shuffled downstairs wearing my old t-shirt to look vulnerable. Jake, please, let's talk. I love you. I just wanted to impress my coworkers. You know how things are at the company. Step back, I replied, handing her the detailed inventory. Your notice period ends on May 15th. This is what's mine and what you brought. We'll discuss the rest in small claims court. Seeing the list, she tensed. Seriously? You're keeping my kitchen utensils? I bought them before you moved in, I clarified. 3 years thrown away over a stupid comment. Noticing a camera in the living room, she exclaimed, You're recording me? That's illegal. Invasion of privacy. We're in a one-party consent state, I replied. The cameras kept recording as she smashed things, screamed threats, and swore to call the police. Although the house was already my territory, that day I realized that the true fortress had been my decision to stop ignoring all the signs. I encouraged her to leave, arguing that she hadn't done anything illegal, and even threatened to contact her lawyer. My brother, who works as a paralegal in another state, backed my stance. But when that didn't work, she chose to leave, claiming she needed time to think. As soon as she walked out the door, I called my locksmith friend Matt and asked for an urgent favor, changing the garage lock. In just over an hour, he arrived without asking questions. We locked the exterior door and moved all her non-essential belongings there. Clothes, cosmetics, shoes, books, and decorative items, leaving only the bare essentials for a few days. I sent her a message. Your access code is 5546. You can come for your things Monday to Friday from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and weekends from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I will not be present. Then I installed another security camera in the garage to ensure nothing happened. That same night, she returned, eyes swollen, with a new plan. She started sobbing and pleading. I know I messed up, but don't throw away a 3-year relationship over a stupid thing. I calmly repeated the agreement. Your things are in the garage. The notice period has begun. Where are you supposed to go? I can't afford a place on such short notice, she shrugged, and with narrowed eyes, she made a threat. You'll regret this. I have compromising information about you. I simply laughed. Dirty information? I work hard, and I was foolish enough to believe you loved me. Go ahead. Tell everyone. I closed the door behind her and for the first time in years, I breathed easy in my own home. It didn't take long for her to exhaust all her tricks: tears, screaming, seduction, and emotional blackmail. She even came with her mother Linda, imploring, "Tell him that sometimes I regret it, that I'm devastated." I stood firm. "Linda, I've always respected you, so I ask you, would it be acceptable for your daughter to insult you behind your back and scheme to put your house in her name by manipulating you?" Linda, uncomfortable, could only manage a quiet denial. Amber's daughter had just removed the mask. Linda stayed silent and left without a word of reproach. The next day, Amber returned to the garage and started taking things out in plain sight. "See, I'm being mature and respecting your terms." Then she tried to strike up a conversation as if this were just a temporary cooling off and not a definitive breakup. I nodded and continued with my routine. On the 8th day, she informed me that she had found an apartment and would move out that weekend before the 30-day period was up. "I just need to come back for the rest of my things in a week or two," she said. I replied, "Perfect. Let me know which day you'll come so I can enable the code from 5 to 9. On moving day, I saw through the camera that she got into a Range Rover loaded with suitcases and essentials. Her new roommate turned out to be Chad, the same guy who had been accompanying her in recent weeks. Chad muttered, "Don't worry, honey. We'll come back for the rest later." I didn't react. I changed the codes again. Immediately after, an avalanche began on social media. She posted cryptic messages about controlling men and financial abuse. She tagged mutual friends and shared articles about emotional manipulation. She never named me, but everyone understood who she was referring to. Several friends called to check on me. I told them the truth, and most believed me. I cut ties with the few who sided with her without question. Then I received a message from my cousin Jenny, who works in HR at the same company, warning me that Amber was claiming I had economically abused her and had been controlling all her money for months. Furthermore, it seemed she and Chad had been in a relationship for at least 6 months while living under my roof. Anger flooded me, but I didn't explode. I didn't post angry replies. I didn't harass her, and I didn't go to her new apartment. I focused on rebuilding my life and protecting what was mine. Days later, a mutual colleague, Kelly, the blonde from the party, sent me screenshots of messages between Amber and Chad in which they planned their deception. "Chad, when you have your name on the deed, we're golden. Just 2 or 3 more months of pretending to be the good girlfriend, and then we sell and split the cash." We met at a cafe. She told me how Amber had betrayed her and falsely forced her to resign. We reviewed the conversations together and agreed to send them to Ryan, my trusted lawyer. His verdict: "It's still not enough to sue them for attempted fraud, but keep gathering evidence, and above all, freeze your credit." That same afternoon, I froze my credit report and reviewed all my bank statements. I found online purchases I didn't recall, cash advances, and even a weekend at a spa. Soon after, my cousin Jenny from HR called me. "Jake, Amber and Chad are in serious trouble. They use the company card to pay for hotel rooms, and there will be an audit soon. Keep that in mind. They might try to involve you or use your assets." That night, Amber asked for essential documents that she claimed were still in the room, with the excuse of wanting to retrieve things. I agreed to let her pass on Saturday, but there would be no more concessions. For 3 days, I gathered all the material: bank statements demonstrating unauthorized charges, messages feigning emergencies, photos of objects I had bought and brought to her new address. Furthermore, I discovered in my mail a draft codicil that Amber had prepared during my convalescence under strong medication, where my house appeared in her name, in case of my death. The discovery made my skin crawl. On Saturday, with my plan executed to the letter, I waited for Amber in the dining room. On the table, I placed 2 sets of documents. The first was an irrevocable waiver of any rights to my property and the acknowledgement of a loan of $28,456. The second was a clause in which I promised not to file charges for the misuse of my credit card. Leo and his fiancée, Maria, waited discreetly in the kitchen as witnesses. Amber arrived impeccable, hair tied back, perfect makeup, and the fitted dress I had given her for my birthday. She smiled confidently, "Jake, look how good I look. I've missed you." I pointed to the papers. "Your documents are here. If you sign them, I'll sign mine." She frowned and silently picked up the pen. I collected the receipts and security camera recordings from several stores to prove that I hadn't used that card. When she stammered, "And what good does that do me?" I played the audio of Amber and Chad discussing their fraud plan and then showed her a breakdown with dates and amounts of all the irregular charges. Finally, I pulled out the draft of the amendment to my will and said, "Can you explain this to me? I was taking Percocet when this was signed." Her face paled. "How did you get that?" she murmured. And I replied, "Either I call the police right now and send everything to your company's audit committee. I think they're already conducting a review, or you sign the papers." At that moment, she looked up. Jenny told that woman to sign the papers. Amber shot me a furious look but took the pen and stamped her signature. Then I noticed a new Cartier bracelet on her wrist, valued at almost $7,000. A luxury she definitely couldn't afford on her salary. "Company expense," I commented in a low voice, and she trembled without saying a word, focused on finishing the signing. When the process was finished, I asked Leo and Maria to witness my signature. "Do you really think I'm going to back down?" Chad spat at me. "I'm just being thorough," I replied, "just like with my pathetic accounting notebook." As he left, I saw him blush with evident shame. Shortly after, I handed Chad an envelope. "Open it outside." Inside was the proof that Amber had already referred the fraudulent charges to the audit committee, along with screenshots of Chad's Tinder profile that Kelly had sent me, active since the previous day, flirting with at least 3 women and saying he was temporarily single. I watched through the security camera as he opened the envelope inside his car. His scream echoed even inside my house. He tried to approach the door, but I had already locked it and turned off the exterior light. 3 days later, Jenny notified me that Amber had been fired and Chad was under investigation for embezzlement. They had detected small thefts from client accounts totaling over $1,000. The company would file official charges. I thanked her for the information but clarified that that chapter in my life was closed. I didn't want to know anything more about Amber. A week passed, and I received a desperate message from Amber. "Jake, please. They are going to evict me. They are filing charges. Chad left me. Help me. I am so sorry." I didn't respond, but I framed that message next to my pathetic notebook and hung it in the garage. 2 days later, another arrived. "It's a felony of embezzlement, Jake. I need a lawyer. I have no money left." And then a third. "Can I stay in your guest house until this passes? I have nowhere to go. My mother won't even take me in." I know you still care. This time I blocked her number forever. After 3 days, her mother, Linda, called. "Jake, I know Amber hurt you. I'm not asking you to forgive her, but she's facing charges and has nowhere to go. Is there anything you can do?" I answered firmly. "I'm sorry, Linda, but Amber made her decisions. She didn't just cheat on me. She planned everything to harm me. Since I signed the will amendment, I can't help her." Silence on the other end. Then she added with a trembling voice, "I had to try." 2 months later, my company won the contract to remodel the executive bathrooms at Amber's former company. The CEO himself congratulated me on my meticulousness and integrity in reviewing every detail. "It's a pleasure to work with someone who values honesty," he said, shaking my hand. Meanwhile, my house was redecorated in a simpler, cozier style. A large leather sofa and a 75-inch TV for Sunday games. I traded my truck for a 2023 model, and Leo, his fiancée, and Ryan started meeting at my place for poker nights. Ryan even helped me structure my business to enter the commercial property market. As for Amber, I learned through mutual friends that she accepted a plea deal for embezzlement. 2 years of probation and restitution, but no prison time. She returned to her parents' house in Ohio. Chad, for his part, fled to Canada when the investigation into his corporate expenses expanded. Sometimes at night, I sit on the porch with a beer and flip through my pathetic notebook, remembering how far I've come. The last entry reads, "Initial company capital, $175,000. Lesson learned. Attention to detail. Priceless. The irony is not lost on me. Amber mocked my obsession with tracking every penny, and that same discipline saved me and unmasked her tricks. She thought I was obsessed with her. In reality, I just trusted what we were building together. The biggest lesson I take away is trust your gut. Pay attention to the signals, and keep receipts, both literal and figurative. Today, my business is growing. I've hired 4 more employees and plan to buy a rental property next year. Not bad for a pathetic plumber. For those who ask, was it all legal? Yes. I notified the authorities and consulted a lawyer from day one. Were we married? No, thank God. I learned about common law relationships and documented everything. She was simply a tenant. Did you press charges? No, I didn't, but her company did. Will you share the camera video? No, that would be illegal and foolish. I clarify that I am not speaking about all women in general. My mother worked cleaning houses for 35 years and is the epitome of honesty. And for those who ask about me, yes. My business grew 32% this year, and I hired 2 more employees. I started dating again. No serious commitments. No, I'm not resentful. I'm grateful for this wake-up call, because otherwise, all this would have been written down without further thought. 6 months later, Amber is serving her probation, working at her father's hardware store. Chad, according to what I hear, has relatives in Canada and is still there. My company closed 2 new contracts, and I'm dating a veterinarian who finds my responsible notebook adorable. Life goes on. Thanks for your support, Reddit.